faceoff. Shoots it, deflected. Right in. Pietrangelo save rebound. Stopped by Pietrangelo. I don't believe that save. Neither does Peter Stastny. He can't believe the save that Pietrangelo just made on him as Frankie sparkling on that maneuver there to stop and rob Peter Stastny. He should get 5 to 10 for that.
Hello and welcome to episode 72 of Tendy Talk, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network and the BLPA Podcast Networks. I'm your host Joe, better known as Wash Up Goalie on social media. This week I chat with former NHL goalie Jonas Hiller. We talk about playing hockey in a different country, geek out over equipment, and talk about why he ended his career playing in Switzerland. So, without further ado, let's get to the conversation with Jonas. So, Jonas, thanks for joining me on the podcast. It's fun to get another goalie on the podcast that isn't located in North America. It's fun to kind of get that international flair, as we all have our different backgrounds, but they all seem to follow the same path.
Yeah, normally, yeah, seems like.
Yeah, so you grew up in Switzerland. You know, how did you get started with hockey and discover this great game that's brought us all together?
Yeah, I don't even know. Well, I guess it's through the parents. I mean, I can't really remember, but even going through some old picture books of mine that I was already pretending to be a goalie at 2 years old and have first picture skating at early age. But yeah, I guess it was definitely my parents that kind of got me into, and I guess when I was 5 or 6, I went skating with them, but when I was 5 or 6, they first time took me to an actual practice to the junior team, where I pretty much spent all my time till I was 18 and then played junior in Harry's. And I guess this is how it started.
And, it's funny because you mentioned, looking at old pictures, and you were already in the net at a young age. And I remember seeing a cartoon many, many years ago. And the premise was goalies aren't born, they're hatched. And, it's a lot of goalies I talk to. It's the same idea of, I don't know. It just felt like where I belonged is between the pipes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no real memories from really that early. But no, I know like later on, it was more the big equipment that kind of pushed me towards at least giving a shot and trying it out. And that's what I did. And my parents at the same time made sure that I won't just sit in the net. And I'll also, I was for quite some time, I was actually playing forward some practices and then being back in the net for the next practice. And I guess in the long run, definitely helped me to also a little better understand the other end of playing hockey outside of the net. But and then it was weird. I actually almost thought about not being a goaltender to more become a regular player. And then they didn't have any goalie for the coming up season. And I go, I'll do another season. And then we had a great year. And out of that, and then I kind of never looked back.
And how old were you when that season happened?
I think it was around 12.
Okay, so kind of one of those pivotal age ranges where it's like you make that decision one way or the other and stick with it. And I was going to ask, had you skated out at all? Because I found that a lot of the goalies I talked to that did skate out to kind of that mix when they were younger, one, were better skaters for it, but we just have a different view of the game than the goalies that were just straight goalie all the time. We understand the game a little bit better, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to really compare, but for me, I definitely think it was a good choice to also kind of really make sure that I actually want to become a goalie, to kind of see the good and the bad about it, and see the pros and the cons on being a forward, a defenseman. And I think the whole skating, the whole understanding the game, kind of, I mean, I don't know if you really already do at the age of 12, but at least you think about it, and you look at games differently. Even if you watch them on TV, then you just focus in on the goalie, but you focus in kind of on the whole game. And I think definitely is not a handicap to kind of have played also outside the net for quite a while.
Now, in our emailing back and forth as we got this lined up, you'd mentioned doing it later in the day, your time, because you wanted to get the kids to bed. Um, are your kids playing hockey, and have they shown an interest for goaltending?
Well, the funny thing is my little one, he always wants to be in the net, but I think it's more because he's too tired to skate. But no, I mean, he's still 4 years old, so I don't know if you can really count that. But yeah, it was funny. Just last week he went, we're in winter holidays, and then we went skating the one day, and he was playing in net, and then my buddy was already chirping me, and they go like, "Yeah, your son already looks like you in the net, like he's kicking his stuff out and kicking his legs out to stop pucks and whatever." But I don't even know if I want him to become a goalie. But no, I mean, yeah. And then the older one, she's my daughter. I mean, she likes going to skate, but yeah, they not like that much into hockey, but might also be for me, yeah, after I was done with hockey, it didn't made it my priority. I'm not watching too many games on TV neither, so yeah, that's yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned not watching much on TV, because I even find myself, I don't watch that much hockey anymore. And I don't know why. I rather be at either watching it live or playing. I don't like watching it on TV that much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I was never really that one of those guys who like, I mean, even when I was playing North America, that yeah, I mean, some of my roommates, they got to their room and the first thing they turn on is a hockey game. And they're like, well, I was playing hockey the whole day, so I don't want to watch hockey also in my time off. But yeah, I was never the guy that, yeah, wanted to see all the games. I mean, I still love watching highlights and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, having spent so many evenings being at rink, yeah, I either go to a game and watch it live, or yeah, spend time with my family, or do some other stuff. Yeah.
Now, I do make one exception each year to that, really not watching hockey on TV, because I live in Minnesota and our boys' high school hockey state tournament is huge here. The games are on network TV. They fill the XL Energy Center where the Wild play to capacity, and that's starting this coming weekend. And yeah, I'll have the TV on watching those kids, because the storylines are great, and they just tell them throughout the game of what it means to these small towns in Minnesota and all of that. So that's my one exception. Then I do tune in and watch it a little more intently.
Got you. Yeah, no, I mean, actually, the Olympics was kind of the first time I actually watched some full games. It might also be with the time change. It was kind of during the day. I mean, it wasn't like in the evening when I was, yeah, kind of doing other stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I'll see. Maybe playoffs, something like that. But yeah, definitely more. Still following the Swiss league now a little even more, that I'm working for the Swiss Players Union and all that stuff. But I always said I'm also happy that I'm not kind of back in that rhythm where every weekend you're gone, every second night you kind of have a late nighter somewhere, or be at the rink, and then kind of just, yeah, enjoying a regular life where you yeah, get up in the morning with the kids and you have your weekends to do something with the kids and the family.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of fans think, the glamorous lifestyle of a professional athlete, but they don't realize how much it does take away from your family. If you're not on the road, you're at the rink super early, because you're doing your off ice training. You have morning skates on the day of a game. If you don't have a game, you're there a lot longer. It's not like you're only working 3-4 hours in a day, and then it is what it is. And even if you do get in late, you're not getting up at 7 a.m. to help get the kids up on the bus. You went to bed 3 hours ago.
No, definitely. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are sacrifices to be made, but at the same time, like, once you're living a dream, you definitely yeah, take those sacrifices and deal with it. But yeah, now kind of after the career, I really enjoy having weekends and plan weekends, or plan like skiing vacation like last week, stuff like I wasn't be able to do for like 30 years almost, playing counting junior hockey and everything. So yeah, I mean, you kind of, yeah, I really enjoy those little things that yeah, kind of had to get back in line when I was playing hockey. Not that I never, I don't want to be a hockey player anymore because I can't go to skiing vacation, but just things that you can't do. And at the same time, I still felt like, compared to other buddies I have that have like a regular job, that are at in the office from like, I don't know, 7 a.m. to like 6 p.m. and sort of work construction and stuff like that, I was still able to see my kids a lot. It was never really like, it was fewer like vacations or weekends off or stuff like that, but I still had a lot of afternoons where I was able to spend time with the kids and then see them grow up. So it's definitely not just always a negative, but I mean, it's tougher to plan things. You can't really plan vacation in advance because you never know when your season's over. It's a lot of little things like that, which it's kind of normal when you're playing, but once you're done with hockey, you go like, oh, it's actually not bad to be able to meet with friends next weekend, and then you're on the same schedule, and it's not like, well, next weekend I don't even know where I'm gonna be. But,
or even those times a friend calls you up and you're like, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing nothing. Well, we should go, we should get together. One of my college teammates, his dad played in the NHL, and he had talked about, if we went on vacation, it was in a window of about 6 weeks in the summertime. There were no winter vacations. There was no spring break vacation for them. Would have been going to see dad on the road,
exactly.
Or it was just mom taking them somewhere. Those are things I think most fans don't think about. But you had mentioned, growing up, and at what point did you set your sights on the NHL? It was like that was the dream. You wanted to play in the NHL. When did that become the goal?
Well, I mean, a dream, it was kind of dream like when I started playing hockey, but it seems so far away. I mean, even back then, they wouldn't even show any games on TV or anything. I mean, the first time I actually got real like closer contact with the NHL was when I was playing like the EA Sports NHL game. I think it was like 95. So I was already 13 or something when like actual like first time like got to know players that play there, and before it seemed really far away, and for me it actually, to become an actual goal, it was like took quite long because I never really played junior national team, I never was drafted, and for me that was like, for me just to become like professional hockey player in Switzerland was kind of more the goal, and even that was kind of quite far away because the junior team I played with, they had like a B League team, like a second division team. So even if I made that team, I couldn't like live from hockey. So I knew like even to advance to that level, I mean was already a dream to me. And then I almost kind of came out of nothing. I mean, when I was 18, I had the chance to go to the sports school, sports college in Davos, and finish my school and skate with the first team. So that was for me the first time that I was actually close. I was with the national like a league team, and then even though I was the backup, but at least like I made some money. Not that I could live off it, but at least I felt like I was getting paid for playing hockey. So that was already huge for me. But that was when I was 18, and I didn't even know if I ever make it as a starter. I was always the backup, and even I think back then you only played 40 games, so the starting goalie was pretty much playing all the games. So in 3 years, all I played was I think like 10 minutes. I got at the end of the game, they put me in because we were up, I don't know, 10 nothing or something like that, or 10-1. So they put me in, and I got 10 minutes to play. So even when I was 21, I didn't even know if I ever will make it professional, even in Switzerland. So
that sounds like my college career. I was a backup for 4 years, and it was like, okay, well, let's get them some minutes. We're either getting beat really bad or, we're up a lot. Let's throw them in there, throw them a bone. And one of my friends used to say I had the fastest door in the league, opening and closing it.
No, definitely. And I mean, it was always different because there's always an outside and inside you. Where like my mom, I mean, she was into sports. I mean, she's been a sports teacher. She's been playing basketball in the highest Swiss league back in the days, and so she was always like, I mean, she knew the sport, and then she knew that it wasn't easy to even make it to professional. And even she was asking me, dude, I mean, 3 years ago you're backup, 3 years later you're still a backup. Do you still think you have a chance? And for me, it was different. I felt, even though I was the backup, I always felt that I get closer to the level of the starting goalie, and I was still progressing. And so for me, it was just kind of waiting to get my chance to prove that I'm able to. And it was interesting. It always seems to be, you have always that outside view and the inside view that might be actually quite different.
So you're growing up, you're not necessarily at a point where you think, that this might become my career. You had to have been thinking plan B of, what were you thinking you were going to do with your life had hockey not panned out then?
Well, I mean, with finishing college in Davos, which was after the third year, I was thinking of going to university, study something. I was into sports. It could be something different. But then I had the chance to sign in Lausanne, which was a A-League team too. They kind of had a starter that wasn't playing all the games normally, so I had the chance to go there, and I figured, well, I'm gonna make enough money, not that I can save money, but at least I make enough money to live off, and I'll give it another shot. And then that was the first time I actually gotten to play some actual games, and I felt, I'm still progressing. I'm able to play in this league. And then almost by accident I ended up back in Davos a season later, and that was the lockout year, and I suddenly was the starter. We won the Spengler Cup, we won the Swiss National or the championship, and then it wasn't a question anymore. But it's changed so quick from being like a backup that didn't play a single minute the whole season, and 2 seasons later you lead the team all the way through the playoffs and win the cup. So.
And catch some eyes in doing so. And it's funny on how, it's just some little segment of time you can just play in front of the right people in the right tournaments and stuff, and how it changes everything. So that does change things. You catch some eyes, you wind up in North America playing in the NHL. And even before we talk about that, what was that culture shock like of moving across the pond, as they like to say, into this whole new culture?
Yeah, I mean, so as I said, I was back in Davos. I think that was 2004, 2005, I guess. Is that the lockout year? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and even after that year, like everybody asked me, why were you never drafted? What happened? Why didn't you play in North America? And I already had some teams interested in signing me. But I said, well, I mean, for me, it kind of came, well, not out of nowhere, but I said, well, I first want to prove that I'm capable of playing multiple seasons in Switzerland. So I decided to, I played another 2 years in Davos, and then in my third year, pretty much before the year, I said, well, my goal is to go to North America, or at least to a foreign country. If it wouldn't be North America, it would be a Scandinavian country or something, to do something new, to develop further, where I felt like, especially my third year, so it was the 6th year total in Davos, we won the Spengler Cup again, we won the championship again, and then and then was that when there was a lot of interest from multiple teams, and then I had the advantage of being a free agent and kind of cherry picking where I wanted to go. I mean, it wasn't Anaheim because of the beach, it was mainly Anaheim because of the Francois Allaire being the goalie coach, who I knew from his stages in Switzerland, his camps he was doing in the summer. And but for me, it was super exciting on the one hand, but on the other hand, once you got in on that plane and you landed at LAX, and everything was so much bigger, and then you were suddenly like not the guy or the goalie who just led the team to a championship. You one of, I don't know, 6 or 8 goalies we had in camp, and
Mm-hmm.
you like, in huge coming from Davos, which is almost like a little village, you like in Los Angeles, and you kind of can't get anywhere, and then trying to figure out where to go and what's going on. So it was definitely a culture shock. And then it was there were times I go, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I could have sign with any team in Switzerland. Everybody would just roll out the red carpet for me, and then here I'm. And at the same time, for me, it was always like I was always looking forward to the next step. How can I advance, how get better? And for me, it was the logical step to kind of keep improving and go further.
And you were able to stick around for a while. You spent, what was it, like 9 years, over 400 games in the NHL. So you clearly were able to prove yourself. That's for sure. I think when goalies think of you and your time in the NHL, they think of your style. You had mentioned the gear being part of it. And the thing that sticks out to me most about you is your cage. Your cat eye cage is not your typical cat eye cage. What's the story behind that one?
Well, I mean, I was always into working on my gear, and then once I found something, it was so tough to get me off any new stuff. So that was I was always playing the Koho gear, which even though Lefebvre kind of didn't want to make them for me anymore, and for some reason I could always convince him to keep making the same stuff because I was so used, and every time I tried something new, I didn't feel like it fits my style the way I want it to feel, especially on the pads. And yes, similar with the cat eye. Well, I mean, I gotta say, I stole the idea from Tim Thomas. So he kind of had that cage or a similar cage where I just always felt like kind of looking with my eyes from looking through the cat eye to look down for rebounds, and then kind of I felt there were too many bars in the way, because you have almost 3 bars and they're not even straight, they're kind of curved. So depending where the puck is, like for me, it always felt just it seemed to hide behind one of the bars, and kind of taking those away and kind of make it straighter bars where I really knew where the bars were to and where I can look through. So I felt like it was just easier for me to kind of switch between looking through the actual cat eye and kind of looking down to see the rebound and everything in tight.
Did you ever try what a lot of folks over here in North America call the Beaupre cage, which is kind of similar to that Tim Thomas, but what Don Beaupre wore on his mask and a couple others, where it's wider openings but still a straighter bar? Did you ever give that a go?
No, I never. I mean, I don't know. I never really liked the look of it, so I was a little picky there too.
Yeah,
but,
it's got to look good and be functional.
So no, I mean, I never had issues with the top part of the cat eye. It was more like just kind of going like looking down, and I felt like I want to get some bars out of the way and still feel protected. And then with that cage, I felt I was able to achieve that, and I think at least in Switzerland there are still some guys playing with the same cage. So
yeah, and I as a beer leaguer, I know more and more beer leaguers are starting to look at that cage too, and I think half the time it's just because they want to be different out there. But me, I looked at it when I bought my last mask. I was kind of looking at my options for a cage like that for the reasons you were talking. Better vision, but I went from the old grid cage to a cat eye, so just going to a cat eye gave me better vision. So it's like, all right, it's already an upgrade. I'm only playing in the beer leagues. I don't need to worry about it too much. Now you mentioned working with Lefebvre and the Koho. You were able to keep that Koho brand alive for a little bit longer, and I liked it because I had Kohos in high school. They were a fantastic pad. I had that teardrop pad that Patrick Waugh had. It was a great pad. And not only that, but you always had different graphics than everybody else. Were you able to kind of work with the folks over at Lefebvre as they were doing the graphics, or do you have those ideas in mind? Like, no, I think this will be what I want.
It was interesting because, well, the only reason I was able, I guess the main reason I was able to keep Koho alive for that long was that the Hockey Monkey bought the right of the brand Koho from Lefebvre back then, and they kind of wanted just to do some intermediate pads for, just because they liked the brand, and it was a known name, and with I think being sold to Reebok and then CCM or whatever, they felt like it was cool. And then So I show up with my old pads from the previous year because I couldn't get along with the newer CCN, like the stiffer style. I never really felt I was able to control the rebounds how I wanted. They just pop up somewhere. So I kept playing those pads, and then LaFay say, yeah, we'll make you another set for the first year, and then you can try over the summer another pair. And I go like, yeah, I can't get used to it. And then I think the key thing was, I guess it was the Olympics in 2010. I guess I think that was my second year over there. So I was still playing those calls, and they wanted to get me out of them. And then we did well. I played well and everything. So it kind of, it was easier for me to negotiate that they would actually make me another pet exactly the way I want. So I had like the development where I got the flatter outside rolls from like the regular model on the older pad, some other adjustments, and then I was pretty much able to say how I want the pad. And then the question was about the graphics, and I go like, well, I don't know. And then I think actually some of the guys at Goalie Monkey or Hockey Monkey, they were super excited that they would come up with drawings for me, and then they created a whole what do you call it, like where I could pick colors and then pretty much put my own customizer, so I could put my own graphics together and whatever. And then that was the first one, and they go like, yeah, let's do a really like the old school, like Patrick Roy, the first Koho. And I go, yeah, that sounds great. So we did that, but the pad was always the same. It was just different graphics. And then we played around with it. We had some cool projects with the stadium series with the all orange gear. And then there was the Mighty Ducks game where we had like the old teal color
those
gear
were great.
and all those stuff. So it was always, I'd love to play around and then kind of try different stuff and look a little different, or I don't know. I mean,
if you don't like designing equipment that even if you're not going to buy it, are you really a goalie? Because I know every time a brand comes out with their new series on the customizer, every goalie I know spends the next day at work just messing around, playing with colors, seeing what they like, and knowing they're never going to order a pair, but it's like that's what we do.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I spent time, and then I had some random people sending me a proposition like how my next gear should look like, and then stuff. I thought it was cool, and sometimes it was me. I guess I always had the last word about it, but I was really open. I was never really like, I can only wear white pads, or I only can wear dark pads, or whatever. For me, it was it was more like, as long as my pad is still the same, it feels the same, I don't really care. The only thing I never really liked to have the outside of the pad in a dark color, because I felt like it was tougher for me to see the rebound once they sit on top of the pad. But everything else, I wasn't too picky about colors.
I like when goalies use some color in their pads so it actually matches their uniform. When they go with that mostly white, I just think it's like, it's a little boring, and yours were never boring. That's for sure.
No, definitely not.
And neither were your masks. Your masks were always, in my opinion, not overly done. Some of them you had, you had the black mask there for a while, but it fit perfectly with the style you had going on. Did you have much say in the design of your mask, the painting side of it, or was that just kind of giving the painter a few ideas and they created it?
Well, I mean, it kind of started because my painter said like he'll never do the same mask twice. So pretty early I go figure, well, if I want him to paint it, then I have to come up with new designs pretty much every year. And then I thought, well, it's actually cool. So you really think about it. You don't have, I mean, I had some things that kind of are on a couple of my masks, like my zodiac sign, the Aquarius. I have a couple of masks. And then it was always different. Like sometimes I had some ideas what I wanted to have on my mask, and then the painter came up with new ideas. I also switched painters a couple of times, and then there were always new ideas. But normally I still had a say in it. And the whole story with the black mask, that actually kind of happened by accident, because I gotten like a new prototype. We made a new shell, and because I really needed it for camp, so they just sent it to me, and you didn't count the carbon fiber wasn't like super clean coming out, so they pretty much just painted it black and said, well, yeah, just try it if you like it, and we make your next one. And then I played that mask, and everybody, like even referees, came up to me, oh, this mask looks awesome and looks really cool, you're gonna keep it for the whole year. And then like that was kind of the only reason I even thought about it. And yeah, it seemed like it was just a little before the time where it seems like everywhere was that flat black kind of football helmets and whatever. But yeah, no. So and then it seemed like a couple of times I gotten back to it. Also have one in Calgary where it was pretty much all black and having like a shiny Flames logo on it and stuff like that. So yeah, even there I'd like to play around with different ideas and different designs.
No, you're playing in Anaheim, which good hockey market, but it's more of a casual fan. And then you go to Calgary, and they're a whole different beast up there. Like they live and die by the Flames. That had to have been quite the shock at the same time. Where Anaheim, you can walk the street and most people aren't going to recognize you, but up in Calgary, not the case.
Yeah, it was definitely a little different. What I felt, it was always like the fans were always really positive about hockey. Where you hear those stories from Montreal, and where like newspapers kind of rip the players apart, and from the media, but also from the fans, it seemed always really positive. And also, sure, you get recognized, and then but people normally say, oh, this is awesome, you guys doing great, and that was kind of it. So it wasn't like annoying or anything. So and I feel like people were also really knowledgeable about hockey, so it wasn't like, well, do you work anything else aside of that, or you like there weren't like stupid questions like that. So it was like pretty cool. And actually like I really liked being even Calgary as a city and everything. It was good size. It reminded me definitely a little more of Europe, especially compared to California. And I had definitely a great time there. And I mean, the second season was a little tougher, but first year we had a really successful year. And for me it was I really enjoyed also kind of seeing that part, also fan base wise, and then kind of playing on a Canadian team.
That first year in February, and you walk out to your car to go to the rink, there had to been part of you that was like, you know what, I maybe should have re-signed in Anaheim. Because you went from the ideal weather situation to Calgary in the winter.
But at the same time, it was like it was almost like California, because it was sunny. It seems to be sunny every time in Calgary. Like you barely ever have like cloudy days. It might be cold and freezing, but then like you're at the rink, so you're playing hockey on an ice surface. So I thought for me it would be more of an issue, but actually just having the nice weather and having the sun out, it just never felt that cold. Even it was minus 15 Celsius with the sun out, it didn't feel that bad or anything. Like I actually even rode the bike to the rink even in wintertime. So I don't know, I dealt with it. And for me it always reminded me a little bit of Davos, which was similar. Like it was a skiing resort, so it was always cold in the winter. You had a lot of snow, but the great part about it is like everybody else sitting in the fog somewhere down in the cities in Zurich or whatever, and we always had the beautiful sunny weather. And so that's kind of what we even Calgary reminded of. So it wasn't as bad as I thought at the first place, because I didn't know Calgary that much before from playing on the road. But you never really feel the city the same way than you actually live there.
Makes sense. Now you mentioned the Stadium Series game that was at Dodger Stadium. I think when the NHL said they were going to play a hockey game at Dodger Stadium, a lot of people are like, really, it's going to be a little warm, but they pulled it off. What was that experience like, playing in that game, in in my opinion, one of the greatest baseball stadiums still around?
I mean, it was even, I mean, for us, even when they talked about it, you could like, well, really outside, and how would they want to do it, and if the ice surface, and is it gonna, but for me, I mean, well, I was a little worried first time we skated there, because that was, I think, in the afternoon. So the sun was out, and I think LA just skated before us. Then they had their regular warm-up skate the day before the game, and then they were skating with the families. So you had dad, and then we were on the ice, and then we skated with the family. So the ice gotten really soft and kind of pretty bad. Like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a good game. And then, but on game day, so nobody really skated, and we didn't even have a morning skate or anything. And then, once the sun went down, because it was, I think, a 7 p.m. game or something like that. So it was actually pretty good, and I didn't have any issues also with the ice. Actually felt pretty good. And I feel for me, it was unbelievable. I mean, it wasn't, I mean, you have better atmosphere at rinks because it's enclosed, but just kind of looking up, and it seems like people are so far up, like you can barely see him, but there's somebody there, and then coming to watch you play. I mean, it was pretty amazing feeling. And I mean, for me, having a shutout and everything was super cool. And that was definitely an experience I'll never forget.
Now, they had the Winter Classic here in Minnesota, this year, and I thought about buying tickets. Was like, January 1 in Minnesota is typically not a warm day, and boy, am I glad I chose to watch that game from home that day. With it was negative 20 below Fahrenheit that day, and they just had the one in Nashville last week, and I texted Kane Van Gate because he was in town for the one here, and I said, Kane, you realize it's 60 degrees warmer in Nashville for this game than the Minnesota one? And it was still cold on Nashville terms too, but it was just, that's how cold that one was. So I want to be mindful of time. I got a list of 10 rapid fire questions. I paused there because they tend to bring up more stories and don't go that quick. But they're the same questions I've asked every single guest, from high school kids I've had on the podcast to guys like Kelly Rudy and Ed Belfour. So it's kind of fun to hear everybody's answer to the same questions. And the first one is, what's the craziest coaching moment from your playing days?
It's going to be one of the times with Arno Del Curto in Davos. I mean, I've seen him breaking fridges with his bare hand because he was mad at the play when we were watching TV. So stuff like that. That's probably must be it. So
that's funny. What is your favorite all-time goalie mask? The design of a goalie's mask that you've seen or like.
For me, definitely growing up was always the Cucho mask. So I think one of my first masks, even in Davos, or at least in Harry's, when I played junior, was the same design because I thought it was so cool and kind of
Yeah, it was intimidating, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What's your favorite rink that you played at?
It's tough to say. Well, I guess the unforgettable one is this the Stadium Series. To play Dodger Stadium, I think. Even though it's not really a rink, but that's it's once in a lifetime thing, I guess.
It was a rink for that day.
It was definitely. There was ice, there was a game, so there was a rink.
Hey, there was just ice. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You give us ice, and hockey players will show up. What's your favorite stick that you've ever used?
Favorite stick? I don't know. It's tough to say. I was never really picky about my sticks. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say, I kind of stuck with the regular, whatever foam core sticks. I never really gotten into the carbon fiber ones, but so.
I was going to ask that because we're the same age, and I still am using foam core sticks. They're getting harder to find, but I don't know. I don't like the composite sticks for some reason.
I know. I tried one of the early ones, and I was always breaking the knob, and then I go like, well, it's so expensive, and I can't really see the advantage. It's not like I was the big stick handler, or it was that much lighter, because I felt if it has to last, it has to be as heavy as a regular foam core stick, and I also felt like it was just harder on my joints. Like there was more at a vibration, or you could feel the puck more. So I always stuck. And then but I bet it's probably, I mean, I'm still coaching some junior goalies here in Bern every second week, and even those like kids, there's nobody, everybody's on carbon fiber sticks, and I go like, well, these must cost a fortune. And I don't know. But
that's one of the other reasons I haven't gone with those, because I'm cheap. And I'm like, I can buy 3 foam cores for the price of that stick, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I always felt bad. I mean, yeah, for me, money wasn't the issue. His team would buy him, but I still felt like, well, I don't know. Then you take one shot off the knob and you break the knob, and then it was more lazy and say, oh, then I have to tape another brand new stick because I took a shot off the knob. So I'll rather put some clear tape over my foam core wood one, and then I'll do another 2 practices with it before I change it.
You know, and I know for me, I think those composites are almost too light for me, because when we grew up, sticks were heavy, you know, so we got used to some heft in our hand. And I almost feel like the composites are so light, I can't tell if I've got the darn thing on the ice all the way. It just, to me, it's too light. But I know I'm in the minority in that one. So the next question, what's your favorite youth hockey memory?
Well, I guess PB tournaments, one that stands out, even though we weren't too successful, but just, I think that was in 96. I was at 14. Yeah, you're able to go to Canada and play hockey, and the big rinks, or in a big rink and all that. That was definitely something special.
Yeah. The folks I've talked to that have gotten to go to that Pee Wee tournament, they all say the same thing. It's just unreal. So what's the best chirp you've heard on the ice, off the ice, directed at you, not directed at you?
Best chirp. I don't even know. I think it was funny. Well, guys in BL always tell me that. I don't even remember it that clear, but they always go, I think it was one of my first season back in BL. So one of the guys in Bern, he was chirping at me for some reason, and I go, and I only said, like, should I buy you out of your contract? Like, I never heard anything from him anymore.
Now, you bring up something I had wanted to ask about but forgot to, is you play quite a while in the NHL, and a lot of European goalies would go, okay, that was a nice career. I'm gonna retire now and have some fun with the family and go on ski trips and coach. But you didn't do that. You still had some fight left in you. You wanted to keep playing, and you went home and played. What was the decision behind that, rather than trying to stay here in the NHL and, maybe be that backup, or,
Yeah, I mean, after that second year in Calgary, where I didn't play a lot and didn't play really well, and there was a lot of things not going my way, but I always felt like it wasn't really me. It was just a circumstance that like wouldn't let me play at my level that I actually expect from myself. And so for me, it was clear I'm not at the point where I want to retire. I kind of want to retire on a high and not on a low. And I mean, there were different options. I mean, even like that second year, I was kind of hoping for a trade at the deadline, and then I had actually some good hopes. So it didn't go through, or didn't happen. And then for me, it was like, at that age, I think my daughter was just born, so she was at the age of 2, and it was really like the questions, what would I want to do, or where do I feel like I have most fun, kind of not just hockey, but with the whole life, and kind of imagining so I was already, that was in 2016, so it was already 34. So at the age of 34, I go like, do I really want to play somewhere in the minors, maybe if I don't make it as a backup, and kind of, or do I want to have kind of the security and then kind of getting a chance to actually play in front of the kind of home crowd in Switzerland again.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just the whole thing. I mean, I go, like, I always said, like, if 10 years before that, somebody would tell me the next 9 years you play in the NHL, I would sign it right away and wouldn't even think about it. And even then, like, I go like, yeah, no, for me, I need some new adventure. I need something new, change of scenery. And then, for me, it was, definitely a decision I never really regretted, even though I guess in my dream I would be probably retiring in the NHL, and then I don't know how many seasons there, but for me, like, yeah, I was always one of the guys who tried to make the best out of the current situation and not think too much about and if and what. So and for me, it was the best decision I could make at that point, not just hockey wise, but also for the family too. And then I learned also in Calgary in that second year that, yeah, having that help at home, or that things that get you off hockey, and then being able to find energy again, and then it's at least as important. And yeah, having kids kind of even kind of brought it out even more.
Well, and yours are at that age where you come home and they're still really excited to see you. And I don't care what kind of day you have at work, you come home to that and it just changes everything.
Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was, yeah, sometimes it also made me like, do I really want to go? I'd rather stay at home and go to the rink. So it was also, so that part where before hockey was always kind of the center of my interest. And then, yeah, but yeah, you definitely start looking at things a little differently also about losing and winning. It gets a little less important. It's more about like, yeah, having the kids happy and being healthy, and yeah, just happy that you're home.
See, now my daughter just turned 15 and my son will be 14 here in June. And I think when I walk through the door, they're like, "Oh, you're home now." But, you know, it's like,
yeah, it changes quick.
Yeah, maybe I'll put a few more hours in at the computer tonight.
Exactly. Why you're home already? Stay at the rink or go
Yeah.
But,
although it is funny, my son will come to my beer league games every now and then, and I swear he just comes so that he can chirp me.
Probably.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So what's the worst post-game beer you've had?
Well, I can't really say because I don't drink at all. So
okay.
I don't even think. Yeah, I never really had a beer after games. So I can't even
So
tell you.
knowing that, I'll change it to the way I ask youth hockey players the question, or those that the college hockey players who technically shouldn't be drinking yet.
Yeah.
What's the worst beverage after a game?
Oh. Trying to think. I wouldn't even know. Tough one. Worst beverage. Yeah, after games. I wasn't too picky. I just know during the games I couldn't drink anything that had bubbles in it because it would always like make me burp or anything. But yeah, but after post games, I ain't too picky. So
whenever I've had something carbonated before a game and during warm-ups, I'm just belching and my teammates are like, Jesus. I was like, well, I got to get out of my system before it distracts me in the game.
Amen.
Although I forget what we had for dinner in my fall men's league season. We made it to the championship game and I don't know what I ate, but it was not settling well with my stomach to the point where one of my teammates came around the net toward the end of the period. He goes, Jesus, is that you making that smell? And I go, yep, it's me. He's like, man. Just a few questions left. When you taped your stick, did you go heel to toe or toe to heel?
Heel to toe.
Okay, you're like most goalies. What was
I also always needed the one strap that's still on the shaft, like it's still on the lower part. I don't know why, but that's how I tape my sticks. It didn't make sense. I think on the early ones they said it wouldn't like break that easy, or like parts wouldn't break off. But with the foam core, you probably wouldn't need it. But
I still do
I was
that.
used to it.
And I've had discussions with goalies my age and older, and I think part of it was those old true wood sticks that were all wood. They were like sponges, and that heel would just absorb that, the snow and the ice and everything, to where it would almost start to come apart, where if you taped it real good, it kind of created a barrier and helped preserve that stick a little bit. So I think that's why, us older goalies anyway do that. Cause a lot of the younger kids, that if they're even putting tape on their sticks, they're not going that far. So what's your favorite number to wear and why?
Well, it's been always the number one, and I don't even know. I think I picked it because it seemed like at the age when I was able to pick my own number, it seemed all the goalies had everything else than the number one. So I figured, well, I pick one, so I always can keep my number, and I don't have to hand it to somebody else. And then, like, even in the NHL, when I came over, like, it seemed like barely any goalies were wearing the number one. So I never had any discussion about if I was able to keep my number or I had to switch. So
yeah. And I've thought about
it makes it easy if you sign and put your number there too, so it makes your signature a little faster. Even though people ask you, why don't you put your number in, you go like, well, there's a number one in the back. Can you see
do you want me to put a little accent to it or what? I've thought about that, why we don't see as many goalies, starting goalies wearing number one. You'll see a lot of the backups that are only there for a year or two where the equipment manager gives it to them. But when you look at the older teams, the goalies were number one, and you go to these rinks and that number's up in the rafters. It's not an option anymore. So young goalies aren't seeing that many of the pro goalies wearing number one. So to them, it doesn't click as that goalie number anymore like it did for us. So my last question, what advice do you have for young goalies?
I think believe in yourself and don't let people tell you what you can't do. Just try it. Yeah, you can't lose it. Just try it and have fun with it. So.
Yeah, it reminds me of a quote that Jim Carrey, the comedian, was telling at a commencement speech. He said he's seen so many people fail at things they don't like. So why not try and fail at something you love?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like, if you always, if everybody tells you, you can't do that, and are you sure you can do that, and then you start questioning yourself, and I mean, you'll find out yourself if you can, but if you don't try, you'll never find out.
Yeah, and you still might have fun along the way if you don't do well. Yeah. Well, Jonas, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to chat. It's been fun. As I tell everybody have on the show, if your travels bring you through the Twin Cities, let me know and I'll buy you a drink.
Sounds good. Can't be beer, but
no,
we'll find something out now.
Hey, there's plenty of good options out there, especially here. So
we might. Well, still, it's one of the things on our bucket list to kind of travel for some longer period of time, also with the family. One of the things I couldn't do because of hockey. So we want to do it like my first year after my career, but with COVID, traveling wasn't really up there or possible. So we hope we can kind of do that in 2022. So this year, so North America might be an option, because even though I've been there for 9 years, I'm mainly seen airports, rinks, and hotels. I know there's plenty of other things to see. So I would definitely let you know if we do.
Awesome. And it's funny you say that. I've got a friend who's a pilot and he flies all over the country. And I was like, well, have you been here? He's like, I've been to the airport and the hotel in all of those cities. I can tell you what it looks like from above, but as far as going to the tourist attractions, nope, haven't been there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
kind of feel the same. I mean, you have certain cities where you spend an extra day and you get the chance to do something, but normally it's like on back-to-back games, and then you're happy if you can just sit in your hotel room and watch some TV and don't have to. But
and if you're visiting someplace, it's a restaurant, it's not the tourist attractions. Exactly. Well, again, thank you, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye now. What an awesome conversation with Jonas. It took some coordinating to line up this episode, with my original emails to him being funneled into his spam folder, but somehow he still stumbled across them. Then, when we lined up a date to record, the meeting reminder didn't go off, but we still found time to connect later that day. I want to thank Jonas for his time and being flexible as we ran into these roadblocks. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube simply by searching for Washed Up Goalie and I'll pop up. Visit washupgoalie.com for some great hockey-related content, my beer league hockey video highlights, and of course, all podcast episodes. If you want some Wash Up Goalie or Tendy Talk apparel, be sure to visit my Threadless shop by clicking the merchandise link on my website. If you like this podcast, go listen to the BLPA Big Show. It's the OG BLPA Podcast Network show where a couple of beer league players talk beer league hockey, draft experience shenanigans, and exploits from around the game. Be sure to check out the full lineup of hockey-related podcasts on the Hockey Podcast Network as well. There are too many to list here, but shows like the Red Wings Rant, the Grind Line, and the Rig Rat podcasts can all be found. I need to thank the band The Zambonis for allowing me to use their music on my podcast. You can download their music on iTunes or listen wherever you stream your music from. As always, I'm working on lining up other goalies to talk to. If you are a goalie or have connections to a goalie who I should talk to, shoot me an email at washupgoalie39@gmail.com or send me a DM on social media. Let's not forget, if you're a brand who wants to sponsor the show, be sure to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk. And finally, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment on the podcast platform you're listening on. It's quick action on your part that helps others find Tendy Talk. So, until next time, keep your stick on the ice and your body square to the puck.
Right over. All right, let's go. Yeah.